go so I can be free. I take the weight on my shoulders. I feel the sky come down on me. And I can't hold it much longer. Gotta let go so I can be free. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
This one, FT Live, Braun, Kratz, Adam Jones soon, Jayce Tingler soon, bench coach for the Minnesota Twins, moving on, can't wait. And Tim Kurkjian, who just called a little playoff action for ESPN, will join us, and Ryan Yarbrough of the Los Angeles Dodgers, who's also, by the way, suddenly a stud, but we'll get into that.
He was a stud before, ill-used, but we talked about that one time he was on. But
You're right. It's a good call. Dodger fans love him, instantly falling in love with Mr. Yarbrough. Now, I will say before we get into Sweep City, Kyle Raleigh was supposed to join us today. He will not. Delay of game, maybe 20-day penalty, and then we'll bring him on?
yeah, he'll come back on. It was he called me last night. We talked it out, and all the stuff that's come out. In no way does he want to look like he's piling on or anything. He just wants to make sure like he has time to talk to his teammates and everything. And we've had this scheduled to come on. We were trying to get him on last week, kind of had a busy week with the end of the season. So we pushed it to this week, and, it didn't happen. But Cal's not, he's the man. And anytime you can get a starting catcher on a team that went down to the wire trying to make the playoffs on to talk about it, we got to have him. And this guy, he's smart, he's thoughtful, and so he just won't come on quite yet.
So stay tuned on that front. Oh, where in the world is Mr. Adam Jones? Uh-oh. He's a little bit frozen, so
He's a little frozen. He's got a nice ceiling there, though.
Yeah.
Is
this is good, though. It's like a good preview that Simply AJ will be joining us soon, getting himself a little locked in right now.
Bro, the wireless at these hotels are just absolutely trash. I need to get hooked up with a company and just have a portable wireless that tacks into a satellite that shoots down to my phone. And Elon Musk, I'm calling you, brother.
Done.
We need to do something like that, man. It's hard to find.
Collab.
And I'm in Milwaukee too. I ain't getting no love. I'm in Milwaukee.
Are you at the Pfister?
Thank God I'm not. No, I'm at the Hilton.
Okay, better. Come on.
I'd rather be at the Pfister. I'd rather have Ghost than bad internet.
You got Ghost Wi-Fi right now.
That's the quote of the day right there. Ghosts over bad Wi-Fi, which I think many people would agree with. So let's charge the damn mounds. I'm so excited, Jonesy, today for all of the game threes. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. Which game three are you most excited to see tonight?
Oh, man, I was really rooting for the Brewers and the D-backs tonight. But, yeah, on a plane. They're in L.A. right now, chilling. The Twins, they took care of business. The Phillies, they were definitely a massive favorite. The Marlins had a great year, a little bit overmatched in that scenario. And then who was the fourth one? Obviously, Texas going down there and stomping a mud hole in Tampa. And that's kind of going to be scary because their offense is hot. And that's not a good thing.
Is there anything, Kratz, to 7 of the 8 wild card series the last 2 years being sweeps? We only had one game 3 last year, which was Mets Padres. I don't know. Is there some formatting issue, or it's just luck of the draw, and we'll maybe next year get 4 game 3s?
Yeah, I think it's luck of the draw. I think teams getting used to the 3-game series, figuring out how to not panic after losing game 1. We haven't had a ton of comebacks after, game 1 winner ends up getting it done. I think it kind of what we're going to get into later, talking about how we use our bullpen in these series. So I think that could attribute to it. But no, I love it. I think they were all great games except for the Rangers-Rays one yesterday. That one kind of got out of hand, and the Phillies got out of hand. But like Jonesy said, those are 2 hot offenses that people need to worry about.
And, unfortunately, there was a team that went down of the ones that we are talking about that the Mr. Kratz had gone a long way. So we'll get to that. I would say the most controversial part of yesterday was José Berríos going up against his old squad. Minnesota's nuts. Berrios gives you 3 shutout, 47 pitches. Velo up, probably anticipating also, adrenaline, but also maybe you're not going to go, 7, 8 innings in this game. But 3? Everyone collectively looking around going, huh? And Yusei Kikuchi, who is not your regular reliever, coming into a weird spot, giving up a couple runs. That's the game. That's it. And I don't think it was just like Whit Merrifield, and we'll get to him. So we'll show his quotes. But I think collectively a ton of players in the sport and former players, like the two we're about to hear from, are pissed off too about just the way that some of these decisions get made in the postseason. And I would say made, but actually I think the right word, Jonesy, is scripted.
I'm hearing did the series here in Milwaukee and Rowdy Tellez.
That is such a.
That's a good pause. You know what? Let's hit a break. We'll come back and keep this running. So Jonesy, we'll get you settled, and also for the stadium crowd, we'll get you figured out. So be right back.
Do you love baseball? Do you love to relax? Do you ever have trouble sleeping or get distracted while studying? If the answers to any of these questions is yes, then you need to try our Diamond Serenity playlist for soothing sleep and relaxation sounds. Use the QR code on your screen to add to your YouTube playlists, and then you can dream of baseball every night of the year. We invite you to take a minute to relax, reset your mind, and enjoy. And now, back to foul territory.
Back on Stadium, Braun, Kratz, Adam Jones, FT Live. Okay, so yeah, no, you're there. You're good. You're looking good, nice and smooth. So let's get into this. A little that's what he said action, because José Berríos gets removed way too freaking early from a game that the Blue Jays needed to win, and also it's a marathon, so you can't just use your bullpen every day or Yusei Kikuchi at a weird spot. But 3 innings, shutout ball, and according to some people that watch José Berríos every single day, like the writers, they were like, this is the best we've ever seen him for 3 innings. And then he gets removed after 47 pitches. So first off, let's run through some reaction, because obviously the Blue Jays lose. That was the entire freaking game right there. They take him out, and Kikuchi lets up 2 runs when he comes in. So first off, our buddy Whit Merrifield, who keeps it real after the game, said, quote, I hated it. Frankly, it's not what cost us the game, but it's the kind of baseball decisions that are taking away from managers and baseball at this stage of the game. Vladdy Jr., it's not our decision. We were surprised. José Berríos, honestly, I don't know. It is what it is. And a little more from Vladdy Jr., quote, obviously, everybody was surprised. Everyone was surprised with the decision, but there are things you cannot control. You can ask yourself many times, but it's not our decision. we were surprised. And lastly, let's get some thoughts from Toronto Blue Jays manager John Schneider, who, I'm just going to throw this out there because most managers get a script, probably was told what to do, but maybe you guys can help me out a little bit more with this. Let's get Schneid's postgame.
Yeah, we had a few different plans in place. Jose was aware of it. He had electric stuff, tough to take him out. I think with the way that they're constructed, you want to utilize your whole roster, and it didn't work out. I think you can look at it broadly and say it didn't work out because they scored 2 runs when we did make a change. You can also look at the fact that it didn't work out and we didn't take advantage of at-bats we had with runners in scoring position. So you can sit here and, second-guess me, second-guess the organization, second-guess anybody. I get that. I get that, and it's tough, and it didn't work out for us today or yesterday. But that's baseball. Sometimes there's 29 teams that are going to say the same thing when the season's over. But yeah, it's a tough way to end the year.
Super real right there by Schneid's. Like he's not ducking it. He's not trying to me, I think he's running himself over with the bus. But I want to really ask Tingler this when he comes on, because he was a manager. He was a big league manager recently with this, as people say, the quote new era of baseball. It's not a new era of baseball. I truly believe that the game plan that they put out there, that they thought about, that I texted Schneider about coming on this show, the day before they started the playoffs, and he's like, dude, I would love to. The meetings are all day long. So those meetings are not because, man, I wonder how we can screw this up. No, they wanted to win. And that's the same new era, old era. They wanted to win these games. I just think the game plan was flawed because there is a looking glass type of way of looking at it, and there is a actual, we're in the mud, we're doing this right now, not in the mud like Jerry DiPoto said, but we're in the mud, we're fighting this out. Holy cow. Jose is dealing right now. He has 8 swing and misses on 25 of their swings. Of the Twins, 25 swings, 8 swing and misses. That is incredible through 47 pitches. That's a great game on 100 pitches. You got to let it ride, but you got to let your manager be able to let it ride. And teams also have that intermediary in the dugout that's like, oh, well, I'm the helpful analytic guy that's also helping you on the field. Everybody needs to be together in the situation, but also understand that you got to give your manager more leeway in that situation. And Schneid's most likely is going to stay laid in front of the bus because there's nobody else that he can throw under the bus, because all those guys are protected by the shield of not having to be in the limelight of being the manager.
Should a front office person like, say, Ross Atkins come out and say, hey, I just want to point to our front office working on a script together and highly advising that this was the game plan, and please don't put this all on the manager? Because I think most fans still look at the game and go, oh, John Schneider, nofeel.com. What are you doing, dude?
I can tell you he has feel. I know he has feel. And Tingler's going to say the same thing because we're all buddies when we played together. Like there's a piece of it that people would say, okay, Ross Atkins comes on. Are we just bringing more people on that make the most amount of money? Like how many people are in that room making that decision? Let's let everybody talk about it. And ultimately, if your organization doesn't let the manager make the final say, then yes, everybody needs to come on. But if that manager's making the final say and you give him that leeway, no matter who the manager is, then yes, it's the manager's fault. But those meetings need to be, if I'm the manager, I need to say, okay, guys, I see what you're saying, but I also see what's going on in the game. And I know 100% that Schneid's knows what's going on in the game and knew what he saw there, but he had his hand, he was right here was the bullpen button, and he had his hand right over top of it, because if it didn't happen on the 47th pitch, it was going to happen on the 30th pitch. He already had Cabrera ready.
Yeah, my big problem within our sport right now is that for too long there are too many decision makers that are treating this like a simulation and not like real life. And that has to do with certain game situations. Of course, we can look back at the famous Kevin Cash removal of Blake Snell, and same thing, as if Kevin Cash was the only one making that decision. Come on. And we just covered the hot topic in the sport from a front office perspective on Jerry Dipoto and the Mariners. That press conference sounded like a damn simulation. 54% doing you a favor. And it got a ton of pub because that's just not real life. That's like a Wall Street simulation, but this is baseball. I encourage people to check out a friend of the show, Evan Drellick's article in The Athletic, because he just completely, like shortly too, it was not a long article, just shortly lays out that this is not a damn video game. This is real life. Let's treat it that way. It's crazy. So anyway, let's bring in our first guest of the day on FT Live. Kratz, you want to intro your boy?
This is the 2004 Florida State League All-Star center fielder, Jayce Tingler.
Kratz,
all right.
Thank you.
And the second handsome, baldest man on this show.
And the right hand right now with Rocco Baldelli and a great Twin Series, little sweep city. Obviously, we were going over the Toronto side, but first off, Jayce, let's get into what the last few days have been like for the ball club. And of course, the big topic, especially for like the local news when they're not, locked in on baseball, is like, we got rid of these streaks and now we can just play ball. And at least I know the players weren't alive for a lot of this stuff or weren't paying attention to it, but at least they don't have to get asked the questions now in the clubhouse. And that's kind of nice.
I think that's spot on. I think to answer the question, how's it been the last couple of days? It's been wild. Like really since the start of the second half, our group has played extremely well. We've had some young guys come up, whether it's Julian and Royce and Wallner and, our veterans are coming together. So for the second half, we've started to score runs. We've pitched it well all year. And now we're playing, what I think is really good baseball. And I think the best thing about it, yes, the streak is snapped, but it's really unbelievable to see just kind of a city come together. Target Field was rocking. You could feel the energy in the entire stadium, out around the stadium, walking after the game. And so anytime a city kind of just connects with the team, it's a really fun atmosphere, and we just want to keep it rolling.
Can you believe that they haven't won a playoff game in that city since we were in high A? Like, that's like, think back to high A. Like, how does this stadium, how did it feel as you guys were, culminating these wins?
Well, a lot of our young players have certainly been asked the question throughout the year, so everyone was aware. I think the best way to answer that is I look at the organization and the men and women that have worked here for 20 plus years. And even after the first game, you saw almost some, tears of joy and just what a relief it was. And, we're kind of sitting in there in the coaching room and it's like, hey, we got one more. But you could just see, I don't want to call it pain of the last 20 years, but you could see a sense of joy for the people that had been here for a long time, and that feels really good.
You mentioned it right there about the second half. You guys kind of started coming together. I think it was Max Kepler had come out, and he was like, I don't really know what's going on, but since the second half, he was like, we're really kind of meshing. And he was like, it's not like we had clubhouse dysfunction. Can you put your finger on what he's talking about?
No, I don't think it's really one thing. I think if I was to sum it up, our pitching has been excellent all year. So let me start with that. Number two, we've got a young group, whether that's Kirilloff at first base, Julian, Royce. I'm going to throw Jefferson behind the plate at 25 years old. And I also want to say the men that we acquired, that the front office and the organization acquired, during the offseason of veteran players and presence, whether that's Vasquez, whether that's Michael Taylor, Solano, Farmer. These guys have been tremendous. And so I think as the year's gone, we've just gotten to know each other better. And we've done things all year long. We have platooned and done pinch hitting. So I think once the guys kind of finally found their sweet spot and role, when they're going to be hitting, what to start to look for, I think everybody naturally got comfortable. And that would be my best explanation of things just kind of coming together.
So you're just winning. That's what you're saying. You guys are just winning more games than you're
That
losing.
helps.
That helps.
That helps.
So are you happy that you're missing your extra day of BP right now and doing the show? You're not out there? And are they, let me point to it right over here, are those champagne bottles behind you there? Are those little mementos?
So I literally snuck out of our workout and I snuck back to one of our clubby's office space. So I cannot tell you what Big Frank has back here, but it's a great setup.
And some Wheaties. I see some Wheaties back there. But anyway, we digress a little bit. How much does Royce be needing to jog and having a hamstring? Does that, not to use a pun, but does that hamstring you guys? Or do you guys feel like that's okay? Like he just needs to jog down the line and give what he gives, and he's going to hit some dingers for you.
The latter part. We are just pumped to have him back in our lineup. And so Rocco has sat down with him. Everybody's explained it to him. He's a ball of energy and said, look, it's more important for you to stay in the lineup than it is, to go sprinting down the line, trying to go 100% and possibly re-aggravate the hamstring. So that's going to be the challenging part for Royce going forward. And I think the big thing is about winning. We get today off, tomorrow off, and so each day Royce is getting healthier and healthier, and that's a good thing.
Hey, Jace, let's go over yesterday just to get your perspective. When you did see José Berríos firing on all cylinders those first few innings and then taken out, what were your thoughts first off on how his stuff looked, and then what were guys saying in the dugout and what was going through your brain? Did you guys anticipate? Because I know everybody has like this perfect game plan of, hey, if everything goes the way we want, this is what it is. Were you guys like, whoa, we got shut out for 3 innings with really good stuff, and now he's taken out?
No, we weren't shocked at all. We were prepared for, honestly, 4 or 5 different scenarios. And so before the game, maybe 3 hours before the game, we sat down with some of our team and analytics team and coaches and said, hey, what are the likely scenarios? What's this going to look like? Obviously, they have to win to survive. So we went through 4 or 5 options, and so I felt like we were prepared. Obviously, you're watching the game, and we've got the screen on in the bullpen, and we can see who's getting up and going. And we kind of had the lanes where if they're going to throw a lefty or Kikuchi, we thought this would be in line. And so even before the game, we talked to Willie Castro and Solano and Farmer, a couple of the guys that come in against the lefties. And so we were prepared, and we weren't surprised. As far as Berrios' stuff, it was good. It was, he was obviously amped up, juiced, had adrenaline. He was throwing the ball well. But to answer your question, I think we were prepared. We weren't surprised or shocked.
You as a manager, you're in that situation. You've been through these types of meetings. Do you feel like the discussion today all over the place is, so-and-so has too much of a say in these decisions? Do you feel like teams take the decision out of Schneid's hand there and like kind of give him like, well, this is the script and we have to stick to it?
I don't know. I can't speak for their, case. I can say I know Schneid as you do, very well, and he's got tremendous feel for the game. I know Don Mattingly well, and one of the most respected men in the game, and Pete Walker obviously knows what he's doing over there. So I can't really, talk about, what their approach was or anything like that. These are hard calls, and I think it's easy to second guess. It's easy to look up and like, oh, they shouldn't have pulled, Berrios. But, what if Kepler comes up and doubles there and we score 2 runs that way? Are you second guessing yourself? And, I get it. You want to see, Berrios continue to go. I don't know what the right answer is. We scored 2 runs. At the same time, we use analytics on our side, and we found matchups late in the game that that we were anticipating and we were hoping to get to. And so we won 2-0. We were able to score, and our pitchers and defense did a fantastic job.
I'm wondering, is there a fine line though between that? Because if the last few years we're hearing, or just there's been 4 or 5 games that the analytical side has been creeped in, and we're talking about it like now. The Snell one obviously is the most notable one, but there's so many situations where the analytics is getting talked about too much, opposed to, well, the manager did that decision. He wanted that was his feel. Rather, it's like, well, it came from upstairs. Upstairs never hit a baseball. I respect that. Is there like a fine line where it's becoming too much of a story that the analytical part, they're getting too much attention?
Yeah, I can only speak on what I've been a part of over here in Minnesota, and so I can't speak of everywhere. I can say here, even last year, my first year coming on, I was absolutely blown away at everything they have put on Rocco's plate, and I mean that in the best way. The front office stays really out of it, and we are provided so much information, and we talk through all scenarios before the game, and then at the end of the day, Rocco makes the call, and he uses his gut, and he uses his experience, and he uses his eyes, and he uses his staff, and he uses what he's seen live in the game, and he makes a call. And I think that is the healthiest way I've seen it ran. And this is the 3rd organization I've been with, and I really hats off to the Minnesota Twins and the organization.
We talk so much about teams losing like a leader, catcher behind the dish, and then the next year the team regresses. Tell us about this play that Correa made. He's not behind the dish, but supposedly Correa called this. Jeffers made the pitch come and got an enormous, maybe one of the biggest pickoffs of a base runner since, I think it was Tommy Pham that got picked off at first base when he pinch ran for the Cardinals. I'm not sure if it was Tommy Pham or not.
I think it was Colton Wong, if I remember right.
Colton Wong, you're right. Colton Wong.
Yeah, it was just rookie year when he got called up. Yeah.
Yep. And so tell us the impact of that play, but also the impact that Carlos Correa brings to this team.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack. Let me first start with the play. It's a play. I think Sonny said we got a guy maybe in Tampa earlier this year. I don't know if that's right. It's a play we put in spring training, and if we tried it 7 times this year, it sure felt like we were 0 for 7. Now it was the perfect combination. Correa noticing these things, but before, basically in the first and second inning, we were talking about the crowd noise. And then Sonny, as good of a pitcher he is unbelievable at the PFP work. He takes pride and control in the running game. He works on his picks. He's unbelievable at those things. And so, and Vladdy's having to get off, being the tie-in run with Bichette there at the plate, who's already 2 for 2. And so with the crowd noise, just them being able to signal in the play, having the freedom to signal in the play, it was an unbelievable call. And then Sonny Gray, there's very few pitchers that when they get that call, they're going to spin. They're probably not going to throw. Sonny is bold and brave enough and just loves the moment. He fired, and we were able to get there, which was, I think, a huge, huge momentum play.
Correa goes back.
Say it again.
The next series is Correa's going. You guys got Houston. Yep. He's going back there where it all started. What can he bring to your team in terms of experience? Because he's been there many times, obviously with that team. But what can he bring his experience to some of the young guys and some of the veterans that you guys do have?
Yeah, just continuing to be himself. And what I mean by that is before we started the playoffs, the first game at Toronto, I think right after our hitters meeting, Carlos kind of, stood up and said what he needed to say, which was all about playoff baseball and his experiences. And so we've got a young group, and we've got some really good veteran leadership. And our young guys are eager to learn. They're certainly not scared, and they're not afraid to ask questions. And our veteran group is really a group of just loving men and teachers, and they're not afraid to share. So that's a really good combination. Carlos's experience, what he does defensively, what he's doing at the plate, just his overall presence. I think he gives us a lot of confidence knowing how many games he's played and performed in the playoffs.
So, Jayce, Carlos has been on this show and spent a lot of time with us, and I thought it was really interesting because we have, more time sometimes on this show than you would say like on just basic TV. And he went over how in-depth his preparation, research, how serious he takes the mentoring component, how much he realizes that he comes with all of this experience, and that's like part of his paycheck, which is super cool. So the next layer for me is your game planning for the Astros. Obviously, there's tons of turnover with many teams, but there are still dudes that he knows about. There's organizational strategies that he knows about. And you see this during the regular season all the time. How helpful, how, extra coach-ish is Carlos going to be for this series?
Well, I think it's Carlos who knows that organization in and out as well as anybody that's currently outside the organization. And we also have Christian Vasquez, who caught for them down the stretch last year. So we're certainly going to get their input into the game plan and kind of go from there. So we're getting ready to get on a flight here in an hour, and that's where a lot of the heavy work or the heavy lifting of the game planning is going to be done over the next 24 hours.
What's the one thing that you've learned since you've been over with the Twins, since getting fired from the Padres, now that you're over with the Twins, that you're going to take into your next managerial job, that you're like, holy cow, why did I not do that when I was a manager?
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing I've got going on right now. So this is my fourth time in the playoffs, 15, 16, 20, and now. And I told Rocco and I told the staff the first three times I was focused, I was laser focused, I was intense. I was seeing things right here. And you know what? I didn't enjoy it. So this run, I told Rocco, I said, we're prepared. We're going to play great ball if we're loose and we're having fun. And one challenge I gave him, one challenge I gave our coaching staff is enjoy it. And now I'm noticing, I'm taking time, I'm looking up in the stands, I'm seeing an electric stadium. I'm seeing just big moments. I'm seeing things different than when I was just so under pressure and just trying to stay in the moment. I'm enjoying it and just having a hell of a time on this run.
I don't want to keep harping about the Padres and all that because, it's all positive and good news is what's going on with the Twins right now. And we've beat them down on this show, and let's beat them down a little bit more. So, their year this year, obviously not the expectations that everybody wanted. Do you still talk to anybody in the organization, that you keep track with, and what's your thoughts on the Padres? Not so good year.
I text, keep in contact with, some of the players, certainly when they're hitting accomplishments in the game. We're signing contracts, anything like that. I reached out. But to be honest with you, us being in the American League and the American League Central, I've really just kind of stayed focused on everything going on over here and truly enjoying my time over here.
Jayce, all right, so let's swing it back to the Twin series for a second here. First off, in that last round, is there anyone else that kind of stood out to you that was soaking in the moment? Because you still have a young team and many guys that weren't making the postseason where, you can be an impact. Like, can you take us inside any types of conversations leading up to this? I know sometimes people, baseball fans, almost like get the football brain where it's like, there's just big speeches going on all the time. And we know in baseball, that's not really how it works. So those little one-on-one combos are often the ones that can make a really big difference, especially for a young guy, right?
Yeah, a lot of our guys, it's been training throughout the year. It's not like, okay, now we've got to do something. It's been, gentlemen, we're going to do exactly what we've been doing, basically since the start of the second half. We're going to plan the same. We're going to prepare the same. We're going to enjoy one another. We're going to continue to have fun. We're going to be in an environment where it's okay to be aggressive and make mistakes. And we're going to be loose and have fun. And what happens from there is going to happen. And I think with that mindset, I think we played really solid baseball just on the fact that we're loose. We're drawing off a ton of energy. Everything's so magnified in the playoffs. And the guys are, honestly, they're having some of the funnest times playing this beautiful sport of baseball than they've ever had in their life.
How hard was it? What went into the decision? You don't have to give the extreme details of it, but what went into the decision, and very tough decision, of not having Brian Buxton on the playoff roster? A franchise player, a fan favorite. Obviously, he's battled some unfortunate injuries throughout his career. But how hard was that to not have him out there? Because we all know he's such an impactful player when he's on that roster.
It's crushing to see. What the people watching this show don't understand is all the time and effort he's sinking in to get healthy and get going. To answer your question, he had a minor setback as he was taking some batting practice and shagging, and so that ended up, unfortunately, making the decision fairly easy. He's back and working again, and I know it's bittersweet for him to see just the weight lifted off the team and certainly his shoulders with the playoff win and the series win. But also it's heartbreaking because he would do anything, give anything to be out there with his team.
Another strength of your team that I think America needs to figure out if they didn't know, because pretty much only baseball fans and Twins fans know of the strength. I mean, seriously, like you call that bullpen and you're like, yeah, whatever, you just get up whoever, because they're all going to throw 99 except for Caleb. Thielbar's throwing just poo ball 95 up there from the left side. Like, you guys have an unbelievable bullpen, and I feel like people do not understand it. What's it like to have that constantly just on the reg?
Kratz, I wish you wouldn't talk about it because I feel like it's a secret weapon, and you're right, people don't talk about it. I think just in general, I think there's a lot of power arms in the games, but you look at what our bullpen has done, not just as of late, but really all throughout the year. It feels like a lot of people don't know exactly who, Duran and Jackson, Brock Stewart and Thielbar, and I'm missing guys. Pagan's had a phenomenal year, and we feel like we got some real weapons down there, and they've been good for us all year, and I totally agree with your point. I don't think a lot of people know about them.
All right, one thing we need to know, though. Gausman, the other day, the 2 homers, was he tipping?
No, he wasn't tipping. We had one guy hit 2 homers.
Jace,
yes,
we are friends.
Yes, he was tipping that he was going to throw a 97-mile-an-hour fastball on the inside part line, and Royce knew it, opened the hips, and went. Yep.
Thank you, Jace, for making a mockery of something that people were saying, and we can't. Like, the next day, we were talking about it on the show, and it was like, seriously, like he was.
People were saying that
on the broadcast. You don't hear the broadcast because you're in the game, like unless you're a big ESPN in the ear guy. But like they were saying that. Like, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, they have 2 hits. If a big league team, I don't care if it's the worst big league team, if a guy is tipping and they know what's coming, it's not going to be 2 dingers. It's going to be rockets all over the ballpark.
Did he stop tipping the inning he struck out the side? Did he clean it up?
Yeah, he figured it out. It was here or here. You know who said he was tipping? It was the mate, Paul Elliott.
Paul Elliott, big shout out.
Inside joke.
That's part of why we do this show, though. Like, you hear that on a broadcast if you're a fan or you're just catching playoff baseball for the first time, and it's like, Oh, well, now I know. The Twins clearly can't have a player that hits 2 home runs. I mean, they clearly knew something.
We only told Royce that was part of the deal. The other 8 guys were like, no.
I felt like that's how it was. I felt like that's how it was when I played. Like I'd watch like the superstars like Jonesy play, and I was like,
yeah,
man, they know what pitches are coming. Why don't they ever tell me?
Those Oriole teams only told Adam. That was it.
That was it. Especially on the first pitch of an at bat.
Exactly.
He always knew what was coming, or when he was just always swinging, whichever it was.
That's good. Good way to finish. Hey, Jayce, awesome to have you on here for the first time. Really appreciate it. Love the combo, and keep doing your thing. We're watching. Good luck.
All right. Thanks for having me. See you
Cheers.
guys.
Hey, Jayce, before you go, sorry. Good luck in your last year with Minnesota whenever you get one of the managerial openings. So.
No chances, buddy.
Hey, if there's a fight, don't go running out. Just jog. We can't be blowing out no hammies.
Don't show that hammy video, man.
Yeah. The Bautista and Rugi, man.
My hamstring's still messed up today, man.
I'm sure it is. Good to see you, Jayce.
All right, good seeing you. You guys be good.
You too. Thank you, Jayce. That's awesome. By the way, we have a Legends territory with Russell Martin coming up this month. Look out for that. Question: which eliminated team has the best chance to make it to the division series next season? Jays, Brewers, Marlins, Rays. WatchStadium.com/foul territory. Go vote. Be right back.
Mark, first of all, your excuse, listen, as a guy that lives in Florida, as you know, and the excuse about the day game, it doesn't work for me because everyone knows the Rays are going to play the early game anyways. It's just the way it's going to be. So they should have known as soon as they clinched the playoff spot and they were hosting, guess what? You ain't getting the 8 o'clock game over Philly, and you're not getting it over Arizona and Milwaukee because they want the West Coast. So guess what you're going to get? Heck, they're lucky they didn't get the 1 o'clock game like they used to do, or the noon start. I mean, I remember playing there in 2008. We had noon starts or 1 o'clock starts, whatever it was in the playoffs. So that excuse doesn't fly for me. And also, I mean, again, I live in Florida. I get it. I mean, a lot of the people in Florida in the St. Pete area, they're not working. They're kind of retired. So, again, it's not really – I mean, listen, I get it. You know, everyone wants to make an excuse for their franchises and for why they had a bad attendance. But you have to admit, this was downright embarrassing.
No, I said it was disappointing. I mean, I'm not making excuses. I was relaying to you guys the excuses. I think there need to be 30,000 people for a playoff game. We went back and looked some of the Rays' previous day playoff games, like you mentioned, drew well. They opened the upper deck for this series. I think the tickets for the upper deck were $30. That's pretty reasonable for a playoff game. So, no, there were many excuses made yesterday, but like I said, it did the same thing in Minnesota. There was school. The people have jobs in Minnesota, and they all turned out. And you do make a good point. People probably should have guessed that. I was a little surprised just given the Texas market. That seems like the Dallas area market is a pretty big market, but you're right. Arizona had to get a little bit of a later slot because of where their fans are. And obviously Philly was going to be the premium choice here. You know, do the Rays having the most wins of the teams playing right now, should that have factored in? Should that have given them a little better slot? Or should MLB have done as they've done in the past where you play the 3 o'clock game one day, but then you play the 7 o'clock game the second day? They're set up right now. They could play all 3 games if there's a third game all at 3 o'clock. So there are some excuses to be made, but there is no excuse for the crowd being so small yesterday.
And now back to foul territory.
Back on stadium, Braun, Adam Jones, Erik Kratz. Okay, Kratz, we see what you're wearing today, dude.
Oh, this?
Yeah.
Oh, this little thing?
Little Philly shirt. So your former squad showed up and really didn't make it close. And the Bryson Stott story was really cool, hitting the granny. And this was a Marlins team that had a really fun year, but they were outmatched.
Definitely outmatched. I mean, they beat them in the season series, but you saw a different level. You saw the fact that the Phillies, I think, it was Alec Boehm had some big hits. He actually should have had another RBI, but Schwarber didn't score on his supposed sac fly. But you saw their lineup get stretched. and they're going to run into a really, really good offense with the Braves. Everybody knows that. But this is why I think a lot of people are thinking the Phillies are the third best team. Yes, they're ranked third in the National League, but they stretched their lineup. Rojas in the I think he was hitting ninth, and Christian Pache was hitting eighth. These guys were either putting up good at bats, getting outs, getting big hits, and they didn't even have Brandon Marshall in the field, one of their better left-handed hitters. Jake Cave has had some huge at-bats for him, another guy that was on the bench. So this team's length in their lineup is really big, but I think the linchpin of it all, if they continue to stretch this lineup out, is JT Realmuto going 2 for his first 2 in his first 2 at-bats with a double and a homer, and that just demoralizes teams. Not his hits, but the fact that a guy that good can be that deep in a lineup, you're just sitting there going, man, I just can't do anything. And the Marlins were up against it yesterday, and they had no answers on the offensive side.
And Nola Wheeler won too, or Wheeler Nola technically. That doesn't hurt. I also do think, I know the bullpen has, as usual, any bullpen's going to go through some ups and downs. There were some guys late in the season that struggled a little bit. But stuff-wise, Jonesy, this bullpen is as elite as it gets. I'm talking about stuff. Guys are going to get hot and cold. Alvarado's been like one of the kings of hot and cold for a while now in the sport. But when those guys are firing the right way, you can carry a hot bullpen late in the game too. That's my thing is, now we've got the big boys. This is the series that's going to get a ton of eyeballs. It's Braves Phillies, just like last year, NLDS. Braves got upset. They were the best team in baseball this year. How does that look this time around? The reason that I picked the Phillies to win the World Series is because I feel like the bullpens are close enough. I feel like the Braves have the lineup advantage, but the Phillies lineup, like Kratzy said, is pretty damn good. And then starting pitching-wise, at least for now, I'm taking Wheeler, Nola 1 and 2, and even, on the 3 side of things, like they don't have Charlie Morton right now. So I actually do think the Phillies have the starting pitching edge. Fried, I know he pitched the other day and whatever, their fake games that they did at the ballpark, but this is going to be a ridiculous series. I would be surprised if we've got like a sweep going on either way.
I think this is going to come down to the bullpens. Sir Anthony, you got Alvarado, Kimbrel. I think it's going to come down to the bullpens because both lineups, like you said, they just do damage. It doesn't matter who's pitching. They're going to make each other work. Strider strikes out a lot of people, but they're going to make him throw 115 pitches. If he's going to get his strikeouts, but they're going to make him work. So I just think it's going to boil down to the bullpens. Both offenses have been terrific since August 1st, my birthday. And, I think this is a great birthday present for me that they've just been swinging the bat like we always do. But I just think they're going to wear each other out. And with the rivalry that they've had really over the last 2 years, they hate each other. And that's back to what playoff baseball is about. You got Philly and Atlanta, 2 cities that don't like each other. And that's great. It's going to be good. I think that is going to be, you're talking about, marketing and all that kind of stuff. I think that is going to be the best series when it comes to that and maybe the most watched because you have 2 really big juggernaut markets and 2 fantastic teams. So I think that's going to boil down to the bullpen. And it's I see everything being hopefully not an analytical decision late in the game and a real managerial decision because 2 great managers.
And Jonesy, this is your first stop with us this week on the show. So Pierzynski a couple times this week was like, I don't want to hear the bullshit about a team that has to sit for whatever amount of days, a week. Because also now the narrative for the Phillies, like they have a few days that they're sitting too, So do you feel the same way? Like if you had breaks, did it really affect you if you felt like things were going right? Like if the Braves score, what's going to happen. If the Braves only score like 1 to 3 runs in game 1, people are going to be, see, they had too long of a layoff and it's a disadvantage for the teams that win the division.
It's not, man. You need that rest. Those guys they're banged up like everybody else. The teams that play in the wild card, they're running on adrenaline. Everybody is. At this point, you're running on pure adrenaline. Everybody's elbow, back, knee, calf, toes, everything is hurting on somebody. And this is the time where it's like, okay, you got to suck it up. That old saying. And this is when you really, really got to suck it up. I was watching the game here with the Brewers and Diamondbacks last night. Moreno got hit by a backswing, ended up coming out. I don't know if he's under concussion protocol. The fans are like, just suck it up. There, you don't suck that up. but with how it's going now, you're gonna figure it out. I think the Phillies having 2 days off is really good for them because they're riding a high. And okay, let's get to Atlanta. Let's get our breath. And the second that the Braves lineup struggles, especially if they go through twice and they got 2 hits and they're some dinkers or something like that, they're going to be questioning like, oh, was this layoff long enough? When the answer is we know that it's not, because these guys still had simulated games. You can't simulate the actual game, but you can simulate the physical action, and they were doing that. So I think them, the Dodgers, the Orioles, and the Astros, I think they're going to be ready and poised to open up on.
I think Jonesy would agree with me, and I'll make it quick, but at the end of your playoff month, you are exhausted. So the whole wild card guys going on adrenaline or, sitting around for the ALDS, you are exhausted because you are just so mentally focused and physically drained from the season. You need to sleep like 3 or 4 days at the end of the season, end of the off season.
And we'll get to the Brewers D-backs series coming up, and also an hour to Tim Kurkjian. But before that, let's go over some bold predictions next on FT Live. Get ready. They might not be right, but we'll try.
But you're a reporter. You can probably put 2 and 2 together and figure out who told Cal Raleigh to apologize. Now, did they also do that to George Kirby after he came out and said, well, I threw 90 pitches and I shouldn't have been out there? And then he got destroyed by everybody all over the place? I mean, was he also told to apologize?
Yeah, I don't know how it works with that. I do think that, like, Jared and George, when Kellner kicked the water cooler or broke his foot, I feel like Jared and George were encouraged to go out and make a statement. Like, I heard Raleigh, like, he wanted to say something, and I think Cal wanted to say something. I don't know if he wanted to do it through the media.
I heard he was forcibly scolded to go make an apology.
Yeah, I think he was told to apologize to his teammates. I know that. But
okay.
Like, why would, like, if you're the Mariners, and then again, this